Welcome back. This is a Dynasty grind, late as per usual because of me when we're late. I was trying to finish up an auction league and I did not get to finish it up. It was just too long. Dynasty grind. Put your comments and questions in whatever comment box and whatever platform you're listening to. And we just talk about Dynasty constantly. It's me and Zach Reed. Dynasty Outhouse might be able to join us at some point later, but I don't think so. I think this is one of the nights he needs to recover from the FF Expo. So, congrats. Thanks for joining us. I'm very much at sea and lost because even my camera position is wrong, so I moved it for the auction. And generally just putting out that general Dynasty grind energy of not really know what's going on, but saying it very, very confidently. What's up, Zach? Sorry to keep you waiting, man.
Oh no, you're all good. I understand what it's like to be ensconced in a John Bosch draft. I get it.
You want to play with John Bosch. You want to play with the people in the draft. So you're like, sure, I'll try. And then 2 years in, you're like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, I'm told. How's it been? You got back from the expo, okay? I see.
Yeah. We left about 5 a.m. on Monday and got back about 10:30 Monday evening. So it was good. It was a nice easy drive. You know, just a short drive. Actually, that drive's not that bad. I mean, you get on whatever 76 or 80 and go, and then we avoided New York City altogether. We hooked up with 84. And then got on the parkways above New York. So it was actually not a bad drive at all. It was long, but not bad.
I don't want to turn it into like a driving podcast or something, but yeah, I found 77 South and was following it, and I checked the GPS casually, not looking down while I was driving, and it looked like a straight shot pretty much to somewhere I knew, and I was like, okay, this one will be good. I got lost on the way up, and about an hour in, my GPS was make a right, and me being an idiot, I was like, okay. And then I found out it was routing me some different off the interstate route that it thought was faster. Pitch black and raining with. It was not good. I swore at my GPS a lot. It's like, why did you tell me to turn right? But I didn't want to turn around because I knew I'd fuck that up too. So I just kept driving.
I got your message. Says I think I'm in West Virginia.
I ended up in West Virginia at one point. Explain that one to me. It was just like, welcome to West Virginia. I was like, I'm probably going the wrong way. Okay. But no, I made it back all right. Kind of, sort of. Stopped at a rest stop after I found the interstate again and found out that the one bill I had in my pocket could not be accepted by a vending machine. So I was pretty pissed off about that.
Oh, no.
And I wasn't stopping again. So,
no.
I just... water fountain on home, I'm afraid, but it was nice. I actually kind of like the drive.
Yeah,
I don't like driving that much. I'm from England. That's more driving than you should be able to do before you get your feet wet. But I kind of like going somewhere. Weirdly, if you know what I mean. Like, especially at night, it's quiet, it's easy. As long as you don't get mugged at one of those rest stops, it's kind of low key pleasant. But we're very late, and we're already behind because of me. I apologize, guys. So,
you look good though.
Yeah, I did find this shirt when I got home. It didn't get washed before I got back, and I was like, I wish I could have worn that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I mean,
but
James, but
yes, sir. I like to remember him when I can. BJ Lee, I'm a contender. 12-team, 1 QB, start 9. Was offered Hunter Henry, Elijah Moore on a 23 first for Kelsey and Judy. I feel like if I get rid of Kelsey, I'm no longer a contender. Kelsey can have that effect, but you got to remember, he's only got 2 years with like Gronk and Graham type upside, and he's getting on. But I understand your feels. You're giving up the better players in some ways for more value, future value in Elijah Moore. Which way would you go on this one, Zach?
So I think I probably will take the Hunter Henry, Elijah Moore, and the 23 first side. With the idea that I would turn around and try to trade Hunter Henry and Moore, see if I could turn around and get Andrews or Kittle for those two. And then I just got a first for Jerry Jeudy, and I'm real happy about it.
Yeah, I'd much rather shop for the next great tight end than pay up for the one once they become the ones. Outside of Gronk and Graham, I've almost never found it worth it. Kelsey was. Well, that's the thing. Tight end's weird. Kelsey is a weird one because I was in his rookie year and then just held on for dear life and got lucky that he turned out with that late breakout to be one of those guys. But normally when those breakouts happen, they're TJ Hawkinson, and Hunter Henry's a fine streamer. You get that. You can do a lot more of those three pieces than you can with the other two. I think, and this isn't a if I'm losing or if I'm winning trade. I think you're still pretty competitive with that much value because, like Zach said, you can use that value to then go and find more points, as well as having built up your store of value to do other things with your roster. So I think in most situations, I prefer the Elijah Moore on the first side, and Hunter Henry is a nice add-on.
But the other thing, BJ, is if you're not comfortable with it, don't make that trade just because we said so. But like thinking the way I would, and again, this is from years of being a Russ Fisher Dynasty outhouse disciple and finally understanding that this trade isn't the end of my team. I think you could cascade. I think you get more, so if you have Elijah Moore and Hunter Henry, I think you can probably make a go with those two at one of those other top 5 tight ends, and then you get a first for Jerry Jeudy and just smile.
Right here.
Are you making a bid? Get in there. Get in there.
No, I just got asked a really nerdy question, and I'm determined to answer it because it was in my Discord, and my Discord people are the best. Someone's asking what a log 10 formula is, and Matt Spencer spent a long time trying to explain it to me, and then I found out it's actually just a default in Excel, so you can just type log, so you don't have to worry about the math so much. Spot 498 Deontay plus a 23 first. I like this side a lot right now. Plus another 23 first, or just you just made it contentious. Yeah, I think I take the Deontay side.
It just barely, but yeah,
barely. Normally, I just say I prefer Jefferson. 4 quarters for $1 kind of a thing. But Deontay, I think, is a little undervalued right now.
Well, so that looks like to me that looks like 4 firsts for Jefferson, and he's probably about 3 firsts and maybe just a nyet. So
exactly. So yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I'm full of auction energy.
He's fired up tonight. No, that's.
But yeah,
I like the Deontay side. I prefer to have Jefferson as the player, but that side has got a lot to it
for sure. Hey, Alan, how you doing? I have Mahomes and Dalvin Cook in a 10-team 1 QB PPR league. Last year, I traded Hurts, the Watson owner, for Madison, and what became the 105. Well, that stinks. I took Jameson Williams.
In a one quarterback league, I'd still rather have Williams, but I mean, trading like Hurts is great, but I'd still rather have the 105.
Yeah, once you put a player name on it, it's harder to like. But the 105 by itself, that's in a one quarterback league. It probably did fine.
He wouldn't have been who I took at 105. Alan,
that's what
I like getting the 105 for it.
And you took your guy. Don't like. Oh no, I made a mistake. But that's the only reason. That's the only thing I'd say. James Flatley, 10-team Dynasty Superflex, no tight end premium as the Lord intended. I traded Justin Fields. It's a good deal. I get back a 23 first and Miles Sanders. It's a super flex. Seems a little low, but I get it. And you've got Josh Allen. I can see why you were tempted to because you've already got Josh Allen. It seems a little low, but I would probably be in. I don't hate it. Put it that way.
Yeah, I would have. Again, this is woulda, shoulda, coulda. If and buts were candy and nuts, every day'd be Halloween. But if I could have gotten somebody that I am more intrigued with than Miles Sanders, I'd be real happy. Miles Sanders is just kind of he's okay, but
you got yourself a top 24 running back.
Yeah,
but it's yeah.
Matthew,
thoughts on Mooney, Terry for Mike Williams and a 25 second and Allen Robinson? Really weird trade. I really like Mooney this year. Michael Thomas is undervalued, but we really have to see how he comes back. So I get that he's undervalued, that his value is a little tentative right now.
I want the Mooney Terry side.
Yeah, that's the side I'm leaning. I think Mooney has the same upside, if not more, than Robinson. Terry's solid as all hell.
Yeah. And the second,
and you're
doesn't
giving
matter.
up a bunch of question marks. I mean, Robinson, should do great, but I mean, he could easily be Robert Woods this time next year, in terms of value. So, yeah, definitely Mooney and Terry, and I think if that's the side you got, you did excellent. 12 teams through Flex start 10. Cup or Trevor Lawrence? Superflex? That's painful.
I still think I want Cup. Did I just say that?
Yes, you did.
I
shocked.
do.
I'm shocked and appalled by you, frankly.
Positional
I think
advantage.
Cup's... Yeah, here's the thing. Cup has got 3 more years in him, at least, in my head, at least. But he's got this year of value. So it's kind of even, which is crazy. 1 wide receiver for a quarterback and a Superflex is crazy. But I could go either way on this. It depends how the rest of my team looks. I think it's even Stevens. And I just asked Zach and he'd tell me Cup. So I'll probably go the Cup side too. Whenever I'm undecided, it's probably normally what I do. What did you think of... good question. The running back behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chico, right?
Chico, yeah. I
just got asked to rank him.
I didn't watch enough of him to come out and give you like the full digs, but he partially because I couldn't find enough film because I like to watch 8 to 12 games of a guy, and there weren't 8 to 12 games of him. And at the end of this, I was like, well, I'm not going to watch full games of Rutgers. He is fast, but he's also 4-year player at Rutgers who never really did a lot. And
was he injured a lot or just didn't get on the field? I don't know. I haven't even dug into him a lot.
I mean, he played most of the game. He was like 11, 9, and 12 games. So it's not like he was not playing. It was just he just didn't really pop. I
do like all this hype because running backs can come from this hype. The thing is, and like me, now's the first time you're really coming to terms with the fact he's potentially the best back, the best other running back behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's probably too late. Unfortunately, sometimes you miss on him. The value swing was worth it for anyone sharp enough to get him in the 3rd, 4th, and now you're probably too late.
And that's, I think, the thing is he's a really athletic backup running back, which is what you're looking for in your rookie drafts in the later rounds. Unfortunately, at this point, he's being bumped up enough that he's not a player that I am in most leagues looking to get. Like if he's still sitting on your waiver wire, go grab him if you can. But if he's not, like this would be the week to put the waiver claim in on. It's Wednesday night. Let's go. But
that's the thing. I feel like I miss this play because you're right. That's a type of running back you should target, and I didn't even notice him. But I can't value, and I want to react quickly, but I can't value him more than everyone else in like trying to catch up. I think that's the wrong way to go.
And the other thing where you say, is there smoke to all this fire? Like, yeah, he's been fine. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire has still been running with the ones, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire will still be the starter there until something happens. It's not going to be Pacheco. So, like, it's nice to see this drumbeat. It's nice to have a rookie that people weren't necessarily on. And if you got a hold of him, FF Lefty, on your roster, great. But if I had him on my roster right now, this is the time you turn and sell somebody like that.
Yeah, I tell you what, one of the things on Twitter that caught my eye today was Matt, is the Zookeeper.
Yep,
Matt Price. Thank you. He was posting some recent trades he'd done, and one of the things I noticed is he's doubling up camp hype players, so you get 2 of them, and going and getting a much higher value asset from before camp started. So he put Tolbert, who I like actually, and I like preseason and I like now, and I'm enjoying the camp hype on him. He put him together with someone else who's also, I think it was Pacheco, and went and got like a 24 first, and then used that first to go get Pickens, and then use that Pickens and something else to go get the Dynasty outhouse way. And I thought that was interesting. You don't have to not like Tolbert to see that this hype increasing his value means you can pair 2 of those guys and go get someone you're much more interested in if someone's willing to buy in.
And this is the other part of micro markets. So micro markets are, and in order to exploit micro markets, you either need to identify beforehand what they are, or like what Matt did, move quickly when they happen. So like you can luck into them. If you drafted Isaiah Pacheco and you drafted Jalen Tolbert, and all of a sudden the cam pipe is, or even like Romeo Doubs right now, because he is getting a lot of hype, even though he's still running as maybe the 4 in that offense. There's a lot of hype, so you can use that hype to your advantage to turn around and get proven assets, because even with the camp hype, these players are not likely to hit. They're just not.
I really think
Pickens
Tolbert
is different
could be
to
a
me.
good, could pull a Gallup, but I mean, he could
Pickens
not.
Pickens is different to me. Pickens was
Because we had him
round
higher
pick.
anyway.
We had Pickens rated higher. Pickens was a second round pick. I'm not surprised by the Pickens news. So,
and it's important that's why it's important to get your opinions in before all this stuff. And even the draft, like Pickens was my wide receiver 2 before the draft, and so I dropped him too low after the draft. But I'm sticking with it because draft capital matters. And seeing all this hype, it makes me feel bad, but it gives me. I'm not surprised to see him jump up. I don't think it's it's a reasonable spike, if you know what I mean. The draft probably dropped him too low, and I have a place to put him in my mental map of what should happen, I guess. John Webb, the fuck do I do with my last share of Gibson there? I think you're just holding at this point. You just, I mean, I think Kuda Doodle had the best tweet on this from what I saw, which is at this rate, Antonio Gibson's is going to have to buy a season-long pass to get into it. Washington games. It's very much somewhere it's not even in the middle right now. It's towards the top end of what the current feeling is. He's going to be the running back 1. It's just he's going to share the role as he's done the last 2 years. He was a top 12, as we've talked about here before, kind of because the running back position sucked, not because he elevated into it. Well, he's a good player. He holds a split role. He has some issues. He's not a perfect running back, but he's very good running back, and so the value's probably dropped too low on him there. So I just hold. I've ended up taking him in best ball a couple of times because of where he's gone, and I'm normally not taking running backs. On a scale of 1 to 10, however you want to answer, how important is it for me to stash Danny Gray all year as a Lancer? Lance owner doesn't matter to me at all. Yes. Danny Gray is a little undervalued because of his draft capital versus the fact that barely anyone knows who he is.
Right.
How important is it? I mean, it's important to make those kind of plays before something happens and the market goes, oh, that guy's the guy, and the micro market happens. But on a scale of dynasty moves, it's probably like a 3, like 10 being max. It's not very high priority for me. I'm not dropping someone I like to do it.
It's really funny. You and I are all, like, exactly in lockstep. Like, I'm sitting there processing, and you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. Like, it doesn't matter that you're a Lance owner. It doesn't, because the rest of your roster is independent of your quarterback. I know that the new thing is to stack, and
that's mostly in best ball at volume. Like if you're doing 200 high stakes, stack the shit out of that.
So like that doesn't matter. And then in terms of like Danny Gray, fine, but he's one of those guys that if a running back pops that's on my waiver wire, he's the guy that I would cut to go pick up my running back.
I don't even play best ball at a high enough rate that I find stacking to be particularly beneficial. Yeah. Like you have to really be in on the format for stacking to have the variance.
Yeah, but it sounds cool, Peter.
It does. It gives you a solid logic for who to pick next, and that's all we're looking for.
The only other place that I could see stacking matter is something like the Scott, and not a lot, but something like the Scott Fishbowl, where you've got 4,000 entrants and you're trying to differentiate yourself. But
yeah, I do like that it gives you some path to constructing a team rather than just taking who's the best player and stuff like that. I like it a lot for a lot of reasons, but it's very marginal. It's like drafting someone else's backup running back. It's true, but they're not going to kill you if you take your own because you're a little scaredy cat.
Give me the ceiling, Peter.
Gentlemen, been a minute since I have caught a show
Hold
live.
On, you skip Thomas.
Oh, did I? Sorry, Frank.
Don't skip Thomas. He's got 323 first. We can't skip him.
Can't skip Thomas. Thomas, how you doing, man? Bring it in. I'm a contender. Dynasty 10 team, 1 QB, half point PPR, 323 firsts. Which few players should I target with those? Okay, I've already got an answer. Or should I hold them for later in the season? Would you like to go first this time so you can say what I'm going to say?
So as a contender, again, you can hang on to these and they'll get better, but you can also at this point start looking for some of those values that we've talked about. I think Cortland Sutton is still one of those guys we've talked, and you wouldn't necessarily have to spend a first. You could get like Sutton plus. Same thing with like Ayuk. There are a whole bunch of these players we talked about. Darnell Mooney is a player you can get for, get Darnell Mooney plus for a first. He's going off the board at like wide receiver 24. But those picks are going to continue to elevate in value the closer you get to the draft. So if you're already a contender, maybe you make a move that really solidifies it with one of them. But I think I'd hang on to the majority of them just because, man, this class is going to be exciting, and you'll either be able to make a pick for a couple of players that you like or trade them closer to that draft and get a haul.
All right, that nerd question's getting out of control. Yeah, basically, what I'd say, I like the phrase you use, so I'm going to continue to steal it. It's time to shop 2023 picks.
Yep.
With the term hellacious value. Like you look at the trade and think, really? Am I taking advantage of this person? And that's about what you're looking for. Because, again, the value of picks and the draft class is meant to be horrendously good. And in Dynasty, you're trying to stockpile two things, points and value. And 2023 picks, first-round picks, are the gold standard of value right now in Dynasty. It doesn't mean you have to have them. It doesn't mean you have to have nothing but them. It doesn't mean you have to trade for them. But if you have them, the pressure is not on you to trade them away unless you're getting something amazing. Yep. Now, what is amazing? Well, what trades do you like? That really comes down to what you think of players. I can give you ideas of what I would think of as hellacious value, and you can run by us on the Dynasty Grind every week. But unless you look at a trade and you're like, wow, I really like that trade, it's probably worth keeping the pick as a rough guide. But it's your team, So, like, something that will be, we've seen a few examples on the Dynasty Grind, but you say Cortland Sutton. I like Cortland Sutton a lot. I think he's got top 12 upside, but you don't want to just give all your value away for potential points. So, how about Cortland Sutton and a 24 plus first for one single 23 first? Now we're talking, you're getting both back, and that's kind of hellacious to me. Like, 23 first shouldn't carry like 2 first plus value, and yet they do right now. So, as the name that came up, that's an example for a trade that I would. And there are many other types of Cortland Sutton trades you could do. Look at your rosters, but try to get value and points back. Nope, that'd be the way I go about it. Unless your team sucks, and then all you care about is value, which is probably very few trades you want to make for 23 first. Unless you're literally able to convert your entire roster over. We've seen some trades with 23 first where you give 3 and you get basically a winning team back. it depends how confident you are in trading. Frank N. How you doing, buddy? Sorry for going away and coming back. Gentlemen, been a minute since I caught a live show. Would you rather have CEH or Gibson going forward? Good question.
Gibson for me.
Yeah, I've got Gibson ahead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire because you could get him cheaper. So he had value upside, but Gibson was more likely to score more points, and that's where I still am.
I mean, Gibson's been a running back one before. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the rookie 101. For some people, I see Kyle waving in the chat, so we'll
me too.
Tweak him a little bit. But yeah, but to me, it's Gibson. Although, like Peter said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going later. And so, that's not a bad, especially with the Pacheco hype.
Yeah, if you give Gibson and get Clyde Edwards-Helaire plus second round pick, I'm in. That's probably the difference between them for me. But that was true before this, to be honest. Because I think there's some upside. I'm willing to, if I'm getting value back, I'll take a value to account for the gamble I'm making. That's what a balanced trade looks like. Kyle Lebrecht. I know that guy. I met that guy. It's pretty exciting. Paul Cicero, is there anything useful to be gleaned from the pre? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a lot of it, and I think what I go back to is if you have a good sense of what you think of these players, and you can be wrong, and if you're wrong, I and everyone else should just adjust as quickly as possible. But someone like Pickens gives you a map of how to value the offseason. Like Pickens, it's not a surprise to me, so I believe it. I already probably realized now I dropped him too low because I didn't expect the camp hype, to be honest with you. But it gives me a good place to what to do with the camp hype. With someone like Tolbert, I liked him a lot, but I knew it was even less likely than Pickens because of where their draft capital was. So I believe it. But if I can package him up and go get a Pickens, I think that's what I do. And again, you might have been very different on both of those players or any of the players we're hearing about. The important thing for me is to run to catch up, but I'm not trying to overtake if I miss. I'll just accept I'm wrong. Like on Pacheco, I probably should have been more aware of him, but I'm not going to try to overcorrect so bad. I'll go start throwing second round picks out to get him. And yeah,
for me, Paul, anything useful to be gleaned depends on your definition of useful. So for me, it's not necessarily reading the camp hype in terms of like who's good and who's not, although there's a little bit of that. And I think that it used to be the actual preseason games, so game 2 and 3 were actually pretty valuable. It may be getting less and less, especially as they go away from practicing in pads and that sort of thing, and you start to see starters and that second string get a little less run. But for me, what is useful to be gleaned is these players that are getting hyped, because you can use that. And the same thing with players who are getting negative camp vibes. So like Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks' value has fallen a ton in preseason because he came out and had asthma. Like that was the big thing, and there were a few reports coming out of the coaching staff in Tennessee that they didn't like how in shape Burks was, and so he's fallen. Like things like that, to me, Paul, are what is valuable. You can take advantage of people either being too low because of negativity or being too high because of camp hype coming out with the beat writers, and so it is valuable, but not the preseason, not what's actually happening in preseason, but more like what comes out of camp. To me, is valuable. You don't have to watch it; just scroll Twitter, figure out what's going on, figure out who's being hyped, and try to steal some value that way. Although Tyquan Thornton, Peter, is good,
and also just pay attention to content creators or players that you like that are posting on Twitter, whatever we're freaking called at this point. That's why I was talking about Matt Price. It's not just because Matt Price said a thing. It's because I know I've seen that dude play for years, watching him on Twitter. I've played in leagues. That dude's as sharp as it comes with value. So is Dynasty Outhouse, no matter what he says. So is John Bosch. And you glean a lot from what to do with camp hype in that particular camp just by the moves they make and the things they comment on. Because John Bosch literally just plays on value. That's what he does. Like we went to that Dynasty Strategies meeting, and it was interesting. Everyone was trying to be nice, so it sounded like everyone was incorporating their points into everyone else's, when in fact you could never play in a league using all that advice at the same time. But the one person that was offering basically from my mind, an answer to every question was John, because all he cares about is value. And if you just take that approach, you can play it in any league, in any situation. Whereas other things are, what do your other players do? What are the draft trends? What are the scoring values? Whereas if you have your finger on the pulse of what value does and when it does it, you can pretty much adjust that to any particular question. And I thought it was really interesting to hear him speak with everyone else. So yeah, John Bosch, Matt Price, and Dynasty Outhouse. Just see what they're saying about camp hype. Mostly it's jokes, but occasionally I'll let a few, here's my trades I've done recently, and it gives me a lot of ideas. I'm definitely not the value hawkish that we're all trying to be. Bob Gilchrist, trade offer sent to Peter.
Ooh, fancy.
Something's going on in that auction, I guess. Gavin, 12-team Superflex, half-point PPR, start 10. Gave T. Higgins, Bellinger. sorry to interrupt this question, but I keep thinking like I'm not as high on T. Higgins as everyone. And so I went to my ranks to try and pull him down, and I found it hard because the only way of pulling him down was like Tyreek Hill. I could put Tyreek Hill over him, and a few more dubious value players. I was like, man, I don't think he's a top 12 wide receiver in the least, but it's hard. And sorry, he traded T. Higgins, Bellinger, Gamewell for Elijah Moore, AJ Dillon, and a 23-second. That's a tough one. Like T. Higgins caverns the value in this trade, so I think T. Higgins' side is probably the answer. But the fact you're getting Elijah Moore and Dillon, who could blow up this year in the right situation, and you're even getting a second thrown in, I think it's well balanced. Zach,
it is. It's pretty even. I still think I would rather have the Higgins side, but it's the thing. It's exactly like what you were saying, Peter. The reason why Higgins is so good in terms of, or is so, we put him in a lot of trades where we want to acquire T. Higgins because a lot of people are undervaluing T. Higgins. Like that's why T. Higgins is exciting, and that's what you're saying. It's hard to get him out of your top 12. Well, most people have him down a little bit further than that, and especially in home leagues and things. I've had several conversations with people who are saying, wow, but he's a wide receiver 2 on his team, and so that
doesn't
drives the. It doesn't matter to us, no. But that drives the value down. But I still think I would rather have the Higgins side on this, but it's close, and I could see a world where I'm kicking myself, Gavin, next year for not taking the Moore and Dillon side, especially if Dillon ends up, taking over that role in Green Bay headed into next year. I think this year it's Aaron Jones is going to be fantastic.
And here is the grease that is 23 draft capital. Because right now you're pretty much priced out the market. You're going to go trade for 23 picks. But if that was a first, I think most people are going to side with the Elijah Moore side. Because you're also getting Elijah and a first and that greasy value of being able to go get whatever you want or select a pick next year. But as it is, just a second, it's kind of even, and you probably lean who's the best asset in the entire trade, and it's probably T. Higgins. But he's a lot closer to Moore than I think, Yeah.
Definitely
you
don't
go trade T. Higgins for Donald Mooney in a first, and suddenly you're up. So, yeah, it's definitely the T. Higgins side, but it's
close enough. I don't hate it, Gavin. I don't hate what you got. Yeah.
And Bob's offer, by the way, is a Devi someone. I don't know who that is, Bob. It's a Devi player who's apparently a quarterback.
Oh.
DJ Ugalele.
No, you don't want that.
And a first-round pick for Justin Jefferson. But here's the thing. Contract leagues suck. I only have Justin Jefferson for one more year anyway, and I'm not winning this year, so it makes it interesting. And Bob,
it does.
Best.
Resign Jefferson.
I can.
Ugalele.
Thank you. No tight end premium. I don't think that matters.
Yeah. Well, Bellinger. That's what
Bellinger a little bit, but nah.
No. I don't mind it, Gavin. I don't mind either side. So if you're happy with your Moore and Dillon, then more power to you. That's not one I'm going to fight you on.
If Zach Wilson isn't quite as bad as I think he might be, Elijah Moore is a lot top 24. It could easily be the T. Higgins of this year. Like he can perform efficiently on high volume. Next year, I'm expecting him to get the volume and the team to suck a little bit, and then suddenly T. Higgins is better. But so yeah, it could easily be the Elijah Moore side. And thanks for telling him to like and subscribe because I never fucking remember to. C-Plant, what do you guys think of this Dubs guy? I think Dubs is a C-Plant guy, to be honest. Is it just useless training camp hype? It's not because. Again, establishing what you think of players as early as possible. I spoke to Zach Reed, and he spoke about J. Mike Check liking what he saw on film. I'm a film grinder, but I know people. I know there are some that are trustworthy fellows, and J. Mike is definitely one of them. Like, trust him with my life, kind of, and that's not obviously the serious. So, yeah, I was already a little interested, especially with that Green Bay Packers wide receiver set. And a rookie breakout is almost more likely than an Alan Lazard fifth year undrafted free agent breakout. Right. So I was already a little interested. But his numbers suck. It's just the film site. So I'm kind of half and half. So I don't think it's nothing. But in the same way, if you are rushing to catch up, don't overtake.
Right.
That's what I would say.
And the thing with Dubs though is because you keep seeing his name on Twitter and you keep seeing the camp hype. If you actually dig in a little bit, Lazard is running as the one.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy
Randall
Watkins
Cobb's getting just as much run. So Sammy, what we already thought is actually true. It's just that he's not nothing either.
Right. And so he's trying to stick on as the number 4. And Christian Watson just came back. So yes, but also like temper that a little bit. Like it's not like Dubs is going to come in and be the number 1 receiver.
It's like trying to double count it if you're trying to catch up. That's what, like he came up. Adam Wild, awesome guy. I forget the podcast name. Save me, Wildy. Sorry, I call him Wild because that's the way it looks. Awesome guy, and he was talking about an argument he had where Christian Watson versus Romeo Dubs value, and Christian Watson should still have higher value. If you trade Dubs for Watson right now, you're already improving in value because I mean hit rates exist for real. So Dubs is getting good news, but it was already factored in, if you know what I mean. So it's nice to see, but if you're rushing to catch up, don't overtake. That's
right. And Dubs was a guy. I mean, we talked about this probably 3 or 4 weeks ago on this podcast where we were talking about Green Bay, and I said, look, take a stab on Dubs because exactly what you said. J-Mike at J-Mike Check has been on. I mean, he was a Justin Jefferson guy. He was a Jalen Waddle guy. This year, he's a Romeo Dubs guy. So judging by the track record of J-Mike and being able to identify wide receivers, like I'm willing to take a 4th round pick and throw it at Dubs. Am I willing to go pay a first now, which is what people are getting for him? Absolutely not.
Again, it's learning what you do and identify. And like I've been listening to you and J Mike Check and many others that have constantly picked out the players I was unable to identify. So I was higher on Thornton than most, I would say, like before the rookie draft, because Zach mentioned them. Same on Dubs. And that's how you play those micro markets. If you're trying to catch up now, by all means catch up. Have them value where it's probably justified. But don't go over it. Don't try and overtake them. Just learn from that and go follow J Mike Check, and he'll identify those players for you in the future. And so next year, when it happens and J Mike Check's on a player that jumps up in value, you can then profit off the micro market in the same way Matt Price was demonstrating, like we talked about earlier. I mean, it's Dynasty, it sucks. If it's redraft, you could go higher in on more certain variables. But with Dynasty, you've got to be careful with that value, in my opinion. But that's the way I play, and I'm a cowardly little nerd, so maybe you want to go all in. I don't know. Samson Simpson. Maybe the best name. I think we've won names. What's the earliest you would take Pacheco in a rookie draft, 1 QB? I think at this point, he's a second-round pick.
Yeah.
There's only about 3 or 4 players in the second round I'd fight you over, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not taking him over. I'm not taking him over Christian Watson. I'm not taking him over James Cook. I'm not taking him over Spiller. I'm not taking him over Rashad White. I'm not taking him over Trey McBride, David Bell. I have David Bell in the first, so I didn't even mention him. But yeah,
well, that's David the thing. Bell. Christian Watson for me is in the first, so we're at 6 or 7.
I'm not taking him over Tyquan Thornton, and so then we have a conversation. I'm probably not taking him over Damian Pierce or Brian Robinson. So then we have a conversation there with Pacheco.
See that? Yeah, similar. I would say between 6 and 8, we've got a conversation. You're like 7 to 10, so fairly close. 12 teams Superflex start 10 PPR roster size 25 and 3 taxi squad. And what's the ideal roster construction? There isn't one, especially depending on what you're trying to do with your team at any given time, but we'll try and answer it anyway. Number of players per position, load up on running backs. And general answers to this is you should have more running backs than feels legal, especially on your bench. You can tell from the players I like and what I want to stash in the trades. I like stacking up those young wide receivers, those rookie wide receivers, those low drafted guys, and even the second, third year. Like I'm rostering Marcus Callaway in some significant number of leagues, but it's harder because you should really rough numbers. If I've got a 7-man bench, 3, maybe 4 of them are wide receivers, and that's if it's not Superflex. I want to roster more running backs because they see more hard value swings, more running backs come from them. So that's my starting point. In other words, I have more running backs than should be legal. What else? Depth is not so important to me, especially when we get outside of your starting roster. I'm looking for micro markets. I'm looking for players who are more likely to bump up in value and points expectation sooner rather than later. And that's kind of the two things I apply when I'm thinking about constructing my roster. It's not, do I have enough wide receivers, enough running backs, which is why you can imbalance it. Like you can have no wide receivers right now and your roster can be stocked because you can use the value of them to go for the rest of your spots. And it's what Dynasty Outhouse says at the start of every offseason, which is you don't have roster needs in whenever the offseason starts. I forget. I think you never do. Even like mid-season, if you make a trade and you get rid of all your wide receivers, you can still pick up wide receivers off the waiver wire or running backs if you go the other way, and you can trade for them. I think, and if you're not winning that year, you should be even more interested in destabilizing your roster construction for that reason. So there's no ideal roster construction for me. There's just general rules about how I'm trying to construct a team.
I really like, I really like your talk about bench running back, like, and that's, again, we were at the Dynasty Expo, the fantasy football, I say Dynasty, the fantasy football expo this weekend, and sat in on the Dynasty strategies, and you heard, it was talked about running backs and the value of running backs and the value of 2 or 3 startable weeks out of a running back is just incredibly valuable to your team. And so by having these, young athletic running backs who have a chance to come in and play when a starter is injured is really valuable to your team, both from the perspective of the points that you can score with them, but also in the fact that if somebody else is short a starter, you can trade them that player for more than value because they're going to get points that week or the next couple of weeks. And so, yes. And for me, so you're looking at 12 teams, start 10. So that's a 15-man bench and 3 taxi. And I don't know what your taxi squad rules are. I love, like, I'm in a couple of leagues where Kyle Lebret commissions, and our taxi squad is 2 years, but it's an infinite number of taxi spots as long as you draft the rookies, which makes rookie picks really valuable. I like that. With a 3 taxi spot, like, I'm a lot less interested in my later round picks. So I know, Cecil, this isn't necessarily roster construction, but anything beyond a first round pick, I am trading. I'm using it to sweeten trades. I'm making moves that way. And this is probably not the way to play it, but after that first quarterback, it's very often that I just kind of let it fly with quarterback. I don't necessarily care about my QB2. I'll get one, and if I can get a Cousins or a Carr or somebody back there, fine. But I'm not really scrambling to try to take another early quarterback if I get one. So those are the things that I kind of tend to look at. I want good, young, startable wide receivers. I want a bunch of running backs on my bench that have potential to score points. And, if I can gain that positional advantage at quarterback, great. If not, then I'm okay with not having the 2 stud quarterbacks.
Bob Gilchrist, I counted, but I'm doing it while doing 7 other things. So you're probably getting way too good of a trade there, or way too bad of a trade offer. I'm not sure. I tried my best.
The other thing with this, we didn't get the starting requirements. So like if like Russ, outhouse leagues, so the trade addicts leagues, you only have to start 1 running back. So it's like one running back, start 1 wide receiver, and then it's just flex.
And then it's different entirely.
That really leaves you open to, with that, I'll draft 1 stud running back and then just go wide receivers, and then my entire bench is running
Like,
back.
it's a weird
really
inverse
happy
because
about
I'm
it.
usually shopping for cheaper running backs in general. I lean zero RB, not that I'm averse to running back at all.
Yeah.
But in Dynasty, balancing value just tends to lean me that way. But when it's one, I suddenly have an enormous disproportional value on the top and almost nothing after that. I'm running back, so it's a weird switch, but it does change everything what your starting roster is. Starting spots, whatever. Order 66 is back. Welcome back, man. Thanks very much. 12 team Superflex PPR, start 12. Talbot and Maury Cooper for Godwin. See, that's the type of.
I'd still rather have Godwin. I know you were off Godwin, but Godwin's where I'd go.
No, that's true. Godwin's definitely got the upside, and it's either way. I think you're selling the hype. I don't hate it. Yeah, it's kind of yeah, it's one or the other. Do either one that you feel personally happy with. I think Cooper's going to be a top 24 this year. Godwin's maybe a top 12 for half the year, and then he would definitely have the value edge there. So depends what you're shopping for. If Burks and Pickens are the 105 in my rookie draft, by the way, Pete, even a year ago, would have been like, keep Talbot, man, because he's one of the second round wide receiver that I like. And now I'm going to distance myself from players more as I increasingly
listen to Bosch.
Can start. Yeah, it's the way I can improve more. Like, I like standing on my heels, but I gotta be able to get off them when I need to. Samson Simpson. If Burks and Pickens are there at the 105 in my rookie draft, who do you like?
So this is where Burks. you take it is Burks, but you take the fact that this year's rookie picks aren't being valued and trade up for the 106 and take them both.
Ooh, I like that move. I like that move a lot. Like those are two that I'm targeting in a rookie draft this year. If forced, I take Burks, but I'm sad to see Pickens go. He's climbed up there, and he should have been there. Would you rather have Pickett at plus 700 or Pickens at plus 1,000 to win Rookie of the Year? Don't do many of those prop bet type things.
Yeah, I don't prop bet.
I don't know what the value is. 7 and 1,000 mean nothing to me unless I'm just thinking about in terms of dollars, I guess.
I would love to be able to tell you, Jared, but I don't prop bet. I think it's more likely that Pickens wins it than I don't think
it's quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks,
but
I don't
think Pickett's very good. I think
that's
Pickens
true.
is much better, but although I guess
just lean the player I like.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but this is not gambling advice, Jer.
Like never. Outside of dynasty rosters, we don't gamble, so we're not the best. But yeah, I think I'd just go Pickens and balls to the wall. YOLO, man. Paul Cicero, are we allowed to talk about Tim Patrick now? No. Yeah, sure. Go, Zach. Like, it's done. I've moved him to the very bottom, like 250.
Yeah, I mean, it's
dynasty rankings. There was never value there. There's no hope for points. So, I mean, maybe if he sticks to a roster next year, he might creep up. But right now, it's just nothing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like so. I know we joked about it before he was hurt. That I thought that it was going to be Sutton and Judy, and you were kind of holding that candle for Tim Patrick. We're never we're never cheering against these players, and we're never it's. I would love to see every single player in the NFL do great things because A, it's a lot more fun to watch, and B, we get more points. It's awesome. So
I was going to say, like, even with him healthy, the NFL prefers its own farts, and that's draft capital. So it's already leaning against Tim Patrick. I hold out hope for my guys and lower draft guys, and partly because the NFL treats players so disposably if they can. And I kind of get it. It's a business. I mean, it's the way every company treats its employees these days, to be honest. But this is the kind of thing like they'll just forget him. They have no reason not to forget him. The NFL. I mean, I hate how disposable players are. Good players, man. It's not like he deserves it. Godwin will be held to the team. For example, Patrick won't. It sucks, but hopefully, hope has no value, fortunately, and we're playing Dynasty. JB, 12-team PPR full rebuild. Traylon Burks or Kyle Phillips at Brevin Jordan and John Mechie. I know that guy.
The first
and
one.
23
You
seconds.
don't
Yeah,
even
this
need to
is
read
like
the first one.
it's like 10 dimes for $1 here.
Yeah.
And just take Traylon Burks all
Well,
day, every
and
day.
like again, so Mechie is undergoing like cancer treatment like that.
Oh,
So
wow.
so you're not
Did
going to
not
see
know.
him at all this year. The 3:23 seconds, whatever.
Brevin
Brevin
Jordan's
Jordan is
not much
always
to
been a
keep.
whatever, and
Oh.
Kyle Phillips is a guy that I like make my last pick in a draft.
Yeah.
Or that's in a rookie draft, Kyle Phillips. But no, it's Traylon Burks for me. Don't give up yet, Jay. Don't give
The
up
3
yet.
seconds is tempting. You feel like you're getting a lot of 23 draft, but remember that a second isn't half a first. It's
Right.
it's logarithmic, and so
Yeah.
like 3 seconds is worth maybe half a first by themselves, and not really. There are good trade pieces, but everything else in this trade, obviously, he knows he owes more than that, and he's just kind of throwing you some things. And no, this to me says let's go get Traylon Burks in drafts. Hold Burks for now. I would, but it's your team. Samson Simpson, agreed, Peter. I'm not trading my 23s for anything right now, but because if you think they're valuable, yeah, they're.
But
It's
there's
not
also
quite
like
permanent acceleration, especially during the season, and then you've got time when the draft comes. And I think just before the draft, there's a dip because people are worried they're going to have to make these picks that have been holding as value. But in general, yeah, exactly.
I like quasi agree with that, Samson, because, and again, it's what we said earlier. Like, if you get blown away this year, all of a sudden, you don't have to wait until 2023 to get whatever valuable thing you're getting. I mean, you could conceivably have someone throw Cooper Kupp at you for a first. You could conceivably have somebody throw Stephon Diggs at you for a first. And I'm good with that. Like, I'll take that and
if you're getting hellacious value, it's fine. But you can also, because they're picks, just be like, nah. And you can make a wrong decision and still be right with picks. It's like cash. You can't technically go wrong if you don't spend it. I mean, you've always still got the cash.
Right.
But yeah. Justin, what do you add to Sutton to get Waddle? I add a first. I'll add a 23 first to do that, and that's again value more than points because Sutton like easily has as much, if not more, upside than Waddle this year. If you're trying to play to win, I would get doing that trade in the opposite, but I'm mostly trying to add Waddle. I think.
Yep.
I might get Juju'd, but I'll risk it. 12-team Superflex 1.5 tight end premium. Gallup or Fant? Fairly even. I probably think Fant. Yeah. Especially with the premium and just in general, if I'm unsure between wide receiver and tight end, I take the tight end value because people underrate its power a little bit. Like stock up on that onesie position, no one values quite well because they can jump. And Fant should actually be a top 12 tight end again this year in terms of career arc. Now I get he's going to Seattle. If you start building out the narrative of 2022, it might not seem that way. But Gallup's injured. So definitely can't repeat his overall performance. 12-team, 4.5 PPR. I tell you what, half PPR doesn't swing me much, but I guess if we're looking for something...
That's the Waddle and Sutton. The half PPR is Waddle and Sutton.
Yeah. It doesn't swing me too much, but you could start talking about touchdown value. And again, that would probably lean Sutton. But the scoring format, especially being half and full, doesn't swing me too much most of the time. Just keep Sutton. That's also not, again, better win rate in 2022, I'm pretty sure would be Sutton.
Yeah. Or at least at least close. So
yeah. I rarely am confident enough to think my team is like definitely on a win now pace. So I mean sometimes, but so I normally in the and again a carroty little nerd.
One of the most brilliant pieces of advice that I've heard was again J Mike and talking to him about how he
normally is.
How he built his teams and how he had the J Mike Invitational where he had all 12 picks in the 2020 draft and but what he said is he waits about 3 weeks and then makes a decision and just goes with the decision. If he's going to compete, then he goes in. If he's going to, play for next year, then he goes out, but he makes that decision quick, and you have the advantage of both being able to have a longer runway for that to affect your team, whether you're going in a positive direction and being a contender or a negative. But it also gives you the advantage of being the first person to make the moves, so you end up with, I think, better deals, because once you start making trades, people go, oh man, I do that for that, and I would have given up this, and so all of a sudden the trade market becomes a little more saturated, and it becomes the seller's market as opposed to the buyers. So if you get in there early, but also still go a few weeks to evaluate your team, but make that decision and stick to it.
Yeah, J. Mike Sharp.
He is
no matter what
very.
he says. Zach, start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and a flex. Tom Brady, Watson, Fournette, ETN, Dobbins, Pollard, DJ Moore, Judy, Gabe Davis, sell. Rondell Moore, kind of sell him. Olave, Watson, Mark Andrews, nice. And Faramuth, appreciate you, Zach. 423 first, you got all the value. What's the question though? Oh, this is from the previous one. I get you. Did we do this?
Nope.
Traded. I skipped over it. My bad. Well, that's his team. 10 team, 1 QB, 0.5 PPR. Traded Josh Allen and DJ Moore, Dobbins, Deshaun Watson, and a 25 first. Not a huge fan of Dobbins. He's pretty decent, man. I liked Outhouse's point on the last time he was here, where he said it's almost impossible for him not to maintain or increase in value just because of the state of the landscape right now. It's a smart one. But I couldn't pass up the trade. What are ways to trade him away? I'm assuming Watson or Dobbins.
Yeah, yep.
Value.
Well,
what would you want for Dobbins is the question, essentially.
Well, looking at that team, he says, what are ways to trade him away? Looking at that team, I would be pairing him, because you're not going to be good this year, because I think that Watson ends up with more of a suspension than he already got the 6-game suspension. I think Goodell is doing, and Kyle had a really good point while we were driving back from the expo, talking about the Watson situation, where he said, what often happens is with typical suspensions, the NFL will run out this big suspension, and then the Players Association will challenge it, and then they'll come back to somewhere in the middle. Well, it's kind of the opposite, where the independent arbitrator gave him 6. Goodell is coming out and saying, we want a full season. My guess is it ends up being more than 6 games, but less than a full season. Or enough games that you're not going to be a contender this year with. Well, actually, I guess start 1 quarterback. Never mind. Let me re-rack that. Yeah, so I'd be looking to get receivers for Dobbins. Like that's what I'd do. I'd try to get a receiver and like a good backup running back.
Thinking CD Lamb, Jalen Waddle. With Dobbins, you probably have to add to get either, but that's the level of wide receiver I'm looking for.
Yeah.
With Cooper Kupp, if you're just after points, if you're going to push for this season, Cortland Sutton, and you should get something back actually for a Dobbins, probably. Yeah, that's the way I was going to say to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know you got good tight ends, but Kittle's in that range, Godwin's in that range. So that's the type of player that I would be looking for. If you want to pivot and make a big bet, you could go after AJ Dillon, although we don't
Dobbins
really like the one.
Gabe Davis, and go get your wide receiver 1.
Yep.
Mine's Justin Jefferson. You might meet CD Jamar Chase, or if you just Cooper Kupp it. You can make moves like that, yeah.
Yep.
And in 1 QB, yeah, what a way to trade. I mean, Josh Allen's one of the few, but in 1 quarterback, generally trade that if you can get it. And yeah, you definitely got a good one. Frank N, would you do Mooney, Gibson, Bateman for Kupp and Melvin Gordon? Oof.
Gibson, Bateman.
1 QB PPR, no tight end premium, and Which side would I want? I guess.
How many teams? Because I mean, like that makes a difference. If it's probably 12 or less, I want the cup side. Just
I was
for
gonna
this
say
year, especially what my team looks like.
I want the cup side, but Mooney's got not cup upside, but he's got a top 12 upside. You're getting a solid running back. That's better than Melvin Gordon. And Bateman's just like value.
Yep.
Even though I don't think he's going to be in the top 24 this year, if people drop low on him, I'll be like, buy Bateman, and there'll be someone looking to buy him for a first this time.
And I think the value is on the Mooney, Gibson, Bateman side by no question.
Yeah.
I think that again, if you're a contender and it's a smaller league, man, it's hard to give up the advantage that Cup gives you. I mean, he could have missed 3 games last year and still been the wide receiver 1 going away. Like he's just it's
Mooney
and it's hard to
Gibson gets you what wide receiver though? Like if you just take Bateman as a value you're adding and then go take those two, like could you go replace Cup with I don't know Hill, Adams? Just thinking old top 12 wide receiver. I mean, yeah, the value's tempting here. I'm probably on the Mooney Bateman side, and I hate it because you should prefer Cooper Kupp.
Well, no, I mean, it depends on your roster construction. It depends on your team. It depends on where you're at. So, like, again, most of these, and this is why we take so much time answering the questions and why we're already 35 minutes behind is
we try to be a little different and not pretend we know what the answer is. Like we'll give you what our answer is, but then try and talk you through why. Because if you disagree with part of the reasoning, there's your answer. You just go, you use that. Because we don't know what the answer is. As fun as it is to have definite answers, and I get that. That's part of what they teach us when they're trying to teach you how to write articles. It's like have actionable information and certainty because you're delivering a good process with risk managed dynasty moves. But ultimately, it's hard to have confidence in someone when they say maybe. But we embrace them maybe. I don't know what to tell you. It's worked for us. Samson Simpson, AJ Dillon. Took dubs in the 11th last round last night in a sleeper bowl. I really think that means something insider trading. Yeah, I heard that Dillon took dubs, and he also took Aaron Rodgers, I believe. He believes in the connection. I don't know it means anything, but it definitely, it's solid. It's like what's happening in camp right now. Dubs ain't nothing. He's keeping up. He's earning his draft capital at least. I think we should believe what we think of the player. It's not fading away. It does not mean something. That's that way. Justin, Zach would keep Dobbins, ETN, and Pollard aren't guaranteed. That's interesting.
I mean, neither's Dobbins. So, that's the rub.
I feel much more confident in Dobbins. I get what Justin's putting down here, but I get it. And we're all into selling ETM right now, but he's valued higher than Dobbins right now, so there should be a value difference.
I don't mind taking, and Justin, I don't mind taking ETN. Justin and Zach. We'll do the Justin answering Zach, but kind of play off it. I don't mind selling ETN right now and going and getting somebody that you really want. I mean, I think you're in the range of being after like Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, that area for wide receivers, which I'm all about. So
the difference is like ETN is like 13, running back 13 right now, and Dobbins is lower than that. So you should be getting something with Dobbins, not something with ETN. Otherwise, perfect. I like that. Like the energy. Order 66, loads of love. Pulled up my question, but never talked about it. Didn't we? I feel like we talked about it because I mentioned Order 66.
I mean, they could have had multiple questions. No, I don't remember Algier.
We didn't talk about it. I just mentioned it and moved on. Sorry. Start 10. Garrett Wilson, Fairmouth, and Algier, or Mark Andrews and Khalil Herbert. I'd take the Fairmouth and Wilson side. I don't care much about Algier, but it's not nothing.
I want the Mark Andrews side because of the one.
I know you do.
Point.
He's really good. Yeah,
he is, and with the tight end premium of 1 point, I mean, you look at the number of targets that Mark Andrews gets. I don't think Freiermuth is going to come close to those targets. And this is not that Freiermuth is bad.
No.
Freiermuth is fantastic. Freiermuth is a top 7 tight end. And I'll fully, I'm on board. It's taken me a little while to get there.
I get it.
Mark Andrews is a top 2.
Oh yeah.
So
agree.
that's the
I've been high on him since his rookie year. He's phenomenal.
So that's
and
where
the best receiver probably. I mean, probably the
Yeah.
best receiving weapon. I'd say I love Bateman, but he's probably.
I mean, he was even the best receiving weapon when Hollywood was there. That's just
okay, I got that.
he was. So
yeah, he just was. Pete, get over it.
So, I'm sorry.
I'm agreeing. But it's one of those things where if you think something like this is a chance to go get it, if Pat Freiermuth can increase his volume, then he becomes the value of Mark Andrews, and you can't get that value at a discount unless you're willing to take that gamble. And I'd never it's the third best tight end season I've ever seen, and that includes rookie tight end, and that includes Mark Andrews's better than. Doesn't mean he's better than, but you can't have a stronger indicator than someone who should increase the volume to that level. But I get, it's a gamble. So Andrews is probably the safer answer. Where were we? I've definitely lost my place because, sorry about that order 66, by the way. Hopefully that makes up for it. All sport. 12 teams Superflex start 10. Traded away Sky Moore, Kenny Pickett, Marlon Mack for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I like that. And then you could turn around and trade DeAndre Swift for more than that if you wanted
to. I've been saying trade DeAndre Swift all off season, and I love that back. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Swift side, right? We're both on the Swift side, just making sure. Yeah, and you get a fourth, whatever. But yeah, that's the Swift side. Joe,
hey Joe, turn around and trade the fourth for Tyquan Thornton. Profit.
Actually, you'd probably get that.
You'd be close. You might have to throw in a third. I'd do that too.
Gary Russell. Pleasure to meet you fellas in Canton last week. You too, Gary. Thanks
Absolutely,
very much.
Gary.
It was a really fun weekend and kind of cool to be able to see and talk face to face with a ton of fantasy. I feel the exact same way.
And I'll tell you, Gary, that's a great point to bring up. Is I think a lot of people get caught up in the idea that it's about the analysts, that it's an event for the analysts. It's absolutely not. It is for everybody because it is a community, and I'm so glad. The most fun that I had all weekend was meeting people who either listen to me or listen to Peter or listen to people that I'm hanging around, interacting with everybody who's just as geeked up about fantasy football as we are is a lot of fun. So
I was told by multiple people that they listen to this or they listen to my podcast, and I did not develop a good reaction to it, but it was kind of awe-inspiring. It's like
thank you is a good one. It's
fangirling over the people that watch. It's like that one, they're real, we're not fake.
But it is it's so cool, and if you have a chance to get out there, do it. Just because it is so much fun.
Just don't let me drive. Fantasy Condo traded Kenneth Walker for Traylon Burks and
yeah, we like that.
That's gorgeous. Good job.
We like that.
Like that a lot. Paul Cicero, Antonio Gibbs Brown, suggested Jerry Jones should sign him. How fun would that be? Pretty fun. Pretty fun, to be honest.
I wouldn't even wish that on Cowboys fans.
Right, no. Gavin Ferguson, last week, Zach, you said Olave is a wide receiver 3 at best on his team. Could you break that down? MT and Olave haven't been fantasy relevant in 2 years. Sorry, Landry.
Neither is Olave. But it Michael Thomas hasn't been relevant because he's been hurt. When he wasn't hurt, he was a wide receiver 1. Jarvis Landry hasn't been relevant because Baker Mayfield couldn't throw the ball to me if he was sitting on the other end of this table. But he actually has been decent. I think that those two players, when healthy, are easily the best 2 wide receivers on the Saints team. And Olave is fine, but he's not going to usurp. He's not going to take over those roles that Landry and Thomas have if they're healthy. That's where I'm at. I think that we get so excited, so caught up in looking for the next big thing that we forget that there are players still around that are really, really good. So that's kind of my breakdown of the Saints and Olave. It's not to say that Olave's bad, but it's really hard for me to see a world where without an injury he gets more targets than either Landry or Michael Thomas.
Yeah, so I've actually been digging into breakouts and returns a little bit more. Returns and repeats, because I've got breakouts well broken down because they're exciting ones we get wrong more in Dynasty, so it's where I think we should improve more. But yeah, to put this in some context, haven't been relevant in 2 years is a phrase often said on Twitter, and it normally tweaks my shouting. It reflects because it's a, not that you're doing this, Gavin, but it's an easy throwaway phrase which may as well mean nothing. But there is something to it because repeats only account for about 20% of top 12 players, or returns rather, players who haven't been top 12 the previous year but have been at some point and then come back into the top 12. But it's just 20%. But when you think about that, that means about 60 to 80% of top 12 players on a year-by-year basis are actually players who have done it before. So yeah, they're actually fairly relevant. And last year, we actually saw in the last couple of years, we saw an exponential increase in breakouts because we're seeing a new wide receiver class. But that also means we've seen a relatively lack of players returning to the top 12 for the first time. So we probably should expect more at the wide receiver position going into 2022. So the haven't been relevant in 2 years, like Zach pointed out, has to be taken into context. Have they been injured, or they've been trying and suck? Have they been on a crappy team like Robinson, or were they on a good team and just, or at least in a good situation, ultimately unable to perform with opportunity like Kenny Golladay? So it's all relative, which is why that phrase often tweets my shouty reflex, because it begs you to provide the context. And that's what it's about on Twitter. It's about getting reactions. And what you're doing here is asking an honest question. But yeah, in 2022, I think we should expect more players to return to the top 12 than we.
And again, that's not saying that Olave will never be anything. It's just saying that right now he's behind.
And that's the other thing. Michael it's Thomas so tempting this year to believe in young wide receivers, but we make this mistake every time. I saw Derek Brown, who's hands down head and shoulders above me in terms of understanding fantasy football. He's great, D-bro. But even he's talking about how great young wide receivers have been recently. But that means we should expect a drop in that. Like, we get a top 24 wide receiver as a rookie every year, pretty much solidly for the last 10 years. That's one guy. So if you like Drake London, that's your guy. You don't get and these other three. Like, a good rookie season is 600 receiving yards. If you like Olave, if you think he's good, you're hoping against hope they get 600 receiving yards and as a top 24 player for about 6 weeks, probably towards the end of the season. Like, that's a great rookie year. Last year we had 2 top 12 rookie wide receivers. It's like everyone's forgetting 2015 and 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 when we didn't get that kind of rookie performance. And that's why you profit. Like, thinking Olave's decent. But for 2022, it's probably the third best. And Zach's probably going to say he's just doesn't have that talent. But, you know,
Olave's not bad. He's not bad. He's
he doesn't have to not like him. Because in another year, one of the other Landry or MT isn't on the team anymore. One of them might retire.
The last season, the last season that both Landry and Michael Thomas were healthy was 2019. Okay,
and they were both good.
Michael Thomas finished wide receiver 1 and Jarvis Landry finished wide receiver 12. Do I expect that again? No. But there's quite a gap between that and a rookie wide receiver coming in. And it's not a knock on Olave. I like Olave.
Yeah, fine. I like Olave a lot.
But it's the proven top 12 wide receivers. There are 2 of them on his team right now.
I probably overreacted to the draft a little too hard and ended up with Olave above Pickens, for example. So that's probably something that's going to come back to haunt me because he probably isn't going to have as solid a rookie year that will justify that. But I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a pretty good player. And in 2022, again, who's going to score more points sooner is the game in Dynasty more than anything else. And yeah, while Michael Thomas and Olave probably won't do it, like the odds are against them, you get both of them after Olave in Dynasty this year. So it's adjusted for, and actually, based on the seasonal trends heading into the year, I'm not doing the talent thing. That's all Zach. I don't know who's better and worse. But the odds kind of swing back towards the veterans who've done it before. Now, Michael Thomas is injured, and Landry had Baker Mayfield. So we'll have to see. But because you get them cheaper, it doesn't matter to me. And, Zach thinks talent-wise, I guess. But I don't play that game regardless. I don't know. Zach is asking, just to be clear here, Zach.
Hey, Zach.
In a deep league, what Steelers running back do you think will be number 2? All are available in my league, and I think I like Warren the best. This is a who's a handcuff question said in a more interesting way. Appreciate that, Zach. I don't care. I don't think there probably is one. If Najee goes down, the running back position probably sucks there, would be my guess.
Yeah, it probably won't be... I don't know. Like I know Warren's been the kind of the flavor of the week, but
yeah.
It's for my money, it's not Benny Snell. Even though he's number 2. So I flip a coin between McFarland and Warren. Like Benny Snell to me, that was a Freudian slip. That was not. Usually I call him Benny Snail. But Snell is not a great pass catcher, so he's not the one that I want, because part of the appeal of the Steelers backfield is that not only you get a ton of carries, you're getting receptions. So it's probably, to me, McFarland. I mean, I don't mind the Warren thing, but again, you're talking way back down your depth chart.
That's probably a better answer than I can come up with. I just I don't value any of them. Justin, Olave is a rookie Landry. Perhaps actually, I don't hate the comparison in terms of the way they play.
No, he said Olave is a rookie, comma. Landry had bad QB play, comma, and we need the Oxford comma.
Yeah. Again, like this phrase that we've come used to seeing, and so we think in these terms. Like the reason it's used on Twitter, I think, is because it begs someone to deliver the context, and it's like people intentionally having bad spelling on Twitter. It's to get engagement. I do it because I suck, to be clear, but I've noticed that a lot lately, like using it as a bait almost, and I think that's what that phrase is. I don't think Aaron's doing that here. I think it's just a phrase we've gotten used to. Baker was a QB2.
Yes, he was, because Jarvis Landry carried his ass, Gavin. That is why.
Like being a top 24 quarterback in the NFL is like there are only 32 of them.
I mean, Baker's great, but whatever. He's not great.
Gary Russell, what do you guys think of IDP? Talked about that a lot this weekend. I met DLF Psycho, something like that, and a whole crew of IDP players. My thoughts haven't evolved. I tried to play it like 5 years ago, and my thoughts haven't evolved because I don't think anyone's done anything to address what I didn't like or didn't enjoy about it. And it basically rotates around 2 main issues. It's one, there's no standard scoring. So one IDP league to another is vastly different. And I don't like relearning standard to PPR. Like, I'd like to know what's going on without having to open up an Excel sheet and go back to school. Like, that's the fun of fantasy football to me. Anyone can play with anyone anytime. And if you have to take a week's course to figure out what the differences are between one league or another, I'm not interested. John Bosch. And the other thing is that the scoring isn't standardized in a way that is, one, consistent from year to year. The best player one year is quite often not the best player, or the opposite. There's like 3 or 4, and the rest are wildly different from one year to the next. And some of the best players, now this isn't a big issue of part of that second string, because it's true in regular fantasy as well, get the fewest points because they're good. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. But like the scoring, it's hard to make sense of, and it's not standardized, which means there's no consistency year over year for anyone just trying to learn. It's like you have to, and one of the things the IDP guys I was talking to said is part of it is the narratives matter in IDP, because what they're saying and how they're changing the defense, which happens much more radically year over year in IDP and on the defensive side of the board, matters. But if you're just a casual player trying to get into IDP, like that's like, oh, you have to spend 5 hours a day figuring out what coaching staff and what beat reporters are saying about the new defense, or just follow Tom Kisslingberry, to be fair. But I mean, it's a much harder ramp to get up, and then when you get there, it's less stable. So there's basically 3 or 4 players, and that's what I think of IDP. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. There are more players on the pitch that we should know more about that would help out with all formats. Like it would help out a lot to know more about offensive linemen, frankly, and when grading quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers. But there's too much upfront cost just to understand it. And even when you get to the top of it, it changes in the next league. So you have to go all the way back up that hill again. And it's hard to become a degenerate in IDP that as easily as I became a degenerate in quote unquote regular fantasy for that reason. You're constantly climbing this hill to get to the top of it, unless you're already a degenerate who's done that over and over and over again. You don't have information that can carry on from one league to another. I don't mean that to sound negative. I would love those challenges to be met, because IDP sounds like a great idea, especially over like team defense. But that's why I didn't keep playing anyway. And talking about it this weekend, most of the people I was talking about were like, yeah, but like it's still the same 5 years on. So I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be me, but that's what I think the issues are with it, or I had with it. Not issues, but things I didn't enjoy. Zach, you got any thoughts on IDP?
No, I think you kind of said it all. I don't have the bandwidth for it, first of all, but I get the sense that fantasy football in general is headed that direction. It is not.
It's too hard.
But
easy onboarding.
But again, like fantasy football, like the overarching umbrella of fantasy football, even though we do the dynasty grind, fantasy football isn't even headed toward dynasty. Fantasy football is the millions of people doing it casually, watching Field Yates on ESPN and getting the Matthew Berry Fantasy Life newsletter, and that's awesome because that grows the game. And if people
we all grow a little bit, but we're
not
not growing towards a different area. Like,
yeah,
it might go towards more Superflex, because that's the thing you could easily do to like ESPN and CBS leagues become the standard default, and everyone could pretty much just get on board with that. But going to Dynasty or going to IDP, we're all growing, which is great, but it's not leaning more that way, I don't think.
Yeah.
You have to be a special kind of sadist or masochist even to like Dynasty. And IDP is like another level. From what I can see from the outside. Although I do really enjoy Tom Kisslingberry's content. He seems to understand more about teams than I ever will because of what he needs to do to understand IDP, which is phenomenal. Who's not being rostered in most leagues who should be picked up off of waiver wires? I don't know. Haven't run the numbers. I'm going to guess Keontae Ingram isn't on a lot of rosters.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's funny, Eric, you just asked this question, so I went and scrolled through a couple of my leagues to see who was there that I wanted to pick up, and Isaiah Likely, who has been drafted by the Ravens. The Ravens drafted 2 tight ends again this year, looking to kind of that's what they do. And if you watch the Patriots, and again, not that the Patriots are the end all be all, they will double up positions in drafts. Where it's interesting to watch them do that, because that's how they kind of recycle positions. Is they'll draft 2, thinking, well, we'll hit on at least 1. So Isaiah Likely, we mentioned McFarland as one of the running backs in Pittsburgh to get a hold of. Tristan Ebner, who is in Chicago. It's like that's not like a great. I mean, I know there are a couple guys ahead of him, but he's interesting as a pass catcher, is very fast. So there are a few players like that, I think, that are out there. Tyquan Thornton still may be out on your waiver wire, depending on how deep your rookie draft is. I like Tyquan Thornton. I know Peter tweeted out today that by accident he's come around on him. and so that's another player that I would be looking to add on waivers.
Yeah, I don't even have the deep names to pull up. Apparently, I can't think was the only one that came to me. But Likely's a really good one. QB2 is not good. Yeah, we're back on Baker Mayfield. I think we're on the same page. Paul Cicero, is CMC a top 5 running back in PPR Dynasty? He is for me.
Yeah.
If I'm going to bet on a running back, I'm not scared of one because he might get injured. They all might get injured.
Well, and how many of those guys can actually do what McCaffrey can do as a difference maker with the receiving game and the running game?
I think tell. I mean, Jonathan Taylor might, but I don't think he's gonna.
I don't think he can. I don't think he gets the receiving, but I guess there's potential there. Kamara has potential there.
I think Henry
Barkley,
pure rushing though.
Yeah,
but he does have. Again, it can produce that difference with it. Barkley he's not going to, but he can.
Not Barkley. Henry
has
the third best rushing game in the history of the NFL. The season, the third best rushing season in the history of the NFL, and finished 80 PPR points behind Kamara. 80.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's better than Kamara.
But I like, as much as I like Derrick Henry, he does not have that complete difference maker upside. He doesn't.
I think Cook, but I also don't think. I think he's winding down, but I think Cook, because he's well balanced and majoritively in both.
So there aren't very many of those guys. I mean, people want Swift to be that guy. He's not going to get the rushing. He's very good. He's very good in the passing game. He's probably not going to get the rushing volume. So CMC's still that dude. And if you can get him, back beyond the top 5, then you're feeling really good about it.
Stupid Barkley, yeah.
I mentioned Saquon already, but yeah,
I forgot. Sorry. No QB, no. In Superflex, even in Superflex, QB top 24 quarterback is a definition of. I hope you're winning somewhere else. It just. I don't even worry. I won't roster.
For me, anyway. I won't roster the quarterback 24 because you can get more points out of rostering somebody better.
There's a duality to it. There's having Jared Goff seems like a really solid value option until you need to trade it for that value, and everyone's like, nah, they don't want to spend it. Yeah. I think Zach's reading you, Joe, so I'm gonna let him go.
I am.
Can I really? Do you want?
Win one of my Superflex 28-man start 10 with just Trey Lance starting.
Yeah,
I picked up Joe Flacco for week 1 too, so now I have. So the answer is yes, but it's more difficult. I mean, you have to have whoever you are starting in that flex spot to replace that quarterback 2 is got to be better than a quarterback 2. That's how you win.
Look at this. Sorry, you can carry on.
No, that's how. Again, it's not always pretty, it's not always fun, and it doesn't always work, Joe. But you can do it.
To get the value over replacement difference of a top 24 quarterback, you're kind of looking top 12 wide receiver and top 12 running back, but it is definitely possible. But that's what you have to score later in the draft. Zach's known for doing it with a McKissick, so he's getting him at really deep value.
Right.
But it's hard to find those guys, but that's the type of guy you're looking for.
Well, but even if you, what round are you drafting in a Superflex league? What round are you drafting that quarterback? It's early. The top 24 quarterbacks are going early, and so I would rather pivot off one of those quarterbacks, especially
gone by round 6.
What? Yeah,
they're gone by round 6.
I mean, you can find that type of player, but Joe, I will say I don't know the scoring in those leagues. In a lot of the leagues I play, there is a real heavy quarterback premium, and so it pushes down the mediocre quarterback. So you have negative points for less than a 66% completion percentage. You have big time negative points for interception, so it's 4 points for an interception, and a pick 6 is -6. So it's a lot of the leagues I play in are different in terms of scoring, and so it allows me a little bit more flexibility with what I'm playing at that flex.
You have to get more value over replacement somewhere else, but
Yeah.
it is possible to do based on the way your draft goes and where your league is. For example, if you're starting Trey Lance and, a top 24 running back in your Superflex spot, you're down. But did you do it because you got, like, Travis Kelce upside at your quarterback spot? Suddenly you're at even again, and maybe you've got a better wide receiver. But you got to balance it out somewhere else, but it is doable, for sure. I mean, I've seen Zach do it. Any thoughts on Joshua Kelly? That's a you question for sure.
Yeah, he's not going to be the running back 2 for them. That's just a make the rookie earn it thing. But I'm not a Josh Kelly. I really don't believe that he's got
the goods.
Yeah, the juice to do that. I think it's still going to be Eckler, and I think Spiller is the easy. If you're going to replace Eckler, if Eckler gets hurt, that's the play. It's going to be Spiller.
For sure. But Eckler's a guy, like he's better.
Eckler is that. Well, and Eckler's that player that could be the running back.
Honestly,
the running back one that you need, to offset your quarterbacks. Like,
is Cooper going to be top 24? Amari Cooper. I mentioned him early, so I think so. Yeah, he's drafted there too, so there's not much value.
Yeah.
Especially because he's older, but I definitely think he should.
And especially if Watson plays half the season, he should be a top 24.
Yeah. Don't reach on him, Dynasty. But he's being drafted right there, I think, and I think it's fine. There's not a lot of upside to it, but I like it. Bateman and Ayuk have lines around 825 yards. For the season, I like both those numbers. I would think Ayuk has but yeah, honestly, 800 yards, good for both of them. I think you're right there. I wouldn't bet against either of them doing that. $2 from Jur. Thanks very much, man. Canadian dollars too. Those are fancy. Who wins Rookie of the Year? Burks. No, it's Breece Hall.
Yeah, I think it's Breece Hall.
Does a running back ever win it?
I think it's Breece Hall. The dark horse to me would be London. Like I could see that happening.
If he hits, he's gonna hit fancy.
Yeah, it's gonna be big. So, but I think it's Hall.
Or David Bell. No, it's probably Hall. Weave says,
Hey, Weaves.
Pen team. I've really got to get out of here by 11:30, by the way, because I've been warned in advance, so I'm going to make that happen. We will try and get through everything, but you know how we do. I try and answer them in the comments afterwards, just in case. But I got to get my stars, their bed rest. Weaves, half-point PPR. Give Pickens, Zamir White, get a random 23 first. Ooh, is Pickens worth more than a first at this point?
No, I think that's a win. I'd take the 23 first, but
that's value. I
do like Pickens, but yep.
I almost nothing Zamir White. I know a lot of people like him exponentially. I like it's fine. I'd take the first probably, and it would be painful, especially now it's finally happening for the guy you drafted. But no, that's what I'm trying to get better at anyway. Phil Keeb. Yeah, I'm going to go with Keeb. Dude in my league keeps hitting me up for a trade for CD. Cool. Make him overpay. I already have his 23 first. Don't give him CD. Would it be worth moving CD for Fournette, Michael Thomas, and... No, that's not hellacious at all. CD's injured right now. Actually, before I speak, I just think I just read that. He's injured a little bit, but no boot. Something like that. Outside of an injury, he should break out into the top 12 this year. So value him that way. Not because breakouts, but like breakouts do happen every year. CD is the most likely player to do it. And there's literally nothing standing in his way other than does he have the goods? I haven't found anyone to say they don't think CD Lamb is talented from a film perspective, something I don't have access to. How talented are they? But every level of his career has been to obliterate and impress based on what most players do in that situation. So I think he's going to break into the top 12 this year. He's really young. He's really good. He's really high drafted. So assume that's what he is right now. That's how I would try and get ahead. And that ain't close to that value. You know?
He cut his foot. He's all right. It's not an injury. He cut his foot.
Yeah. I was wondering if that's why it's happening. Like, he might get value because he's injured.
I would hang on to Lamb. I would make him pay more than that.
It's preemptive, but unless you're seeing 3 first value, no. And Fournette isn't worth a first, even though probably top 12 running back this year. Michael Thomas definitely isn't. And a 24 first, you got one.
Isn't what a 24 first isn't worth a first at this point. Like, I know it is, but it isn't. Like,
yeah, it's like 1 1/4 first in that trade. Sounds like attempted, maybe because you're trying to win, and those are a pretty good play. Yeah, I think you can do better. Is ultimately it. The value's just not here, not there. Eric, chances Flacco starts and revives his career by utilizing all the new toys. I think he would do decent, honestly, with those toys. Like, I wouldn't expect too much less.
Joe is not the only person who has put in waiver claims for Joe Flacco this week. And let's just say that.
I remember it coming up in the expo, and I saw more than one person reach their phone. Like, let's just just see if he's on the waiver wire. Friends, I was reading that Kelly completely changed his diet and bulked up this offseason. Joshua Kelly, I'm assuming, and has really been working on his pass protection and getting Herbert's trust. There's some definite upside. There's upside, but
shrug.
Yeah, you can't base it on narrative, if you know what I mean. Like, that all sounds good, and you can make Le'Veon Bell comparisons. He thinned down, he changed his body type, but like, Le'Veon Bell's really good in college. It was strange to see him not be exceptional that rookie year. So there was more reason than just the offseason news of what he was doing with his diet. And with this guy, there's just the offseason. I'm rooting for him, like Zach said. He's an NFL player trying to grind up from nowhere. Definitely rooting for him. There's not a lot of reason to expect it. I wouldn't overtake by trying to catch up. Costy, so I'm in a startup auction. I did one earlier too, and the going rate for picks is about $85 to $90. Depends what the total is. Yeah. And I was about to snag Debo for $90. Oh, yeah, Debo's worth that if that's what a first is worth. And Saquon's definitely worth that if that's what a first. Yeah, I do those calculations as well. Like, in the few auctions that I'm in,
I'd sell the first. If I'm getting Debo or Saquon for a single first, I am
Saquon for a first or a first value. Absolutely. She's talking to Weaves.
Well, no, hold on. She was shouting out. Was she shouting out Weaves? Weaves has a great all 22 film YouTube channel.
Oh, check it out. Weaves, drop the link. We'll put it up.
Absolutely.
I won't watch it, but I'll subscribe.
I will watch it, Weaves.
Zach might actually watch it. Samson Simpson, 12-team half-point PPR, 1 quarterback. Traded Najee 110 and a 23 third for Devontae Smith, the 102, the 103, and the 23 first. Probably late, but whatever. So it's Najee and the 10 for Smith and the 102 and 103 and a first. Wow. I take Devontae Smith's side here. Yeah. Najee's value's really gone up. I mean, for good reason. I mean, he's potentially one of those guys we said has that upside, actually. I like Najee a lot. But I would take the value. It's a running. I don't take the value.
I'd rather have the Smith than the three firsts. But it's not that far off.
Definitely. Whoa, thanks for okay. Tyreek Hill or 23 foot. Good question. Yeah, I'd probably take the first. He should be a top 12 wide receiver this year, but he's also 28. Not that that means anything, but it does mean something to his value. I think this time next year, over the top 12 performance, he's going to be worth less.
Yeah,
not a first.
Man,
10 team though. You want studs.
Superflex. Superflex. I'd take the first. Superflex. I'm taking the first. I am.
They're gross.
I am.
But yeah.
I am.
I hate myself this year. Not being on Team Old Guy sucks.
But that's one of those where like it really gives me pause because I feel like Hill should be worth more than a first.
Should be. Yeah, definitely. But when you're struggling to get it for cup, it's easier to do it for help.
Yeah.
I literally scooped him up this morning because I had read one blurb and wanted to get rid of Dwayne Eskridge. Honestly,
yeah, I'd rather have Kelly than Eskridge.
Drop anyone for Eskridge.
That's a win. Yeah.
Eric Fournette is a year away from the running back age of death. Fair, let's not argue. Michael Thomas is already a zombie. And if you're doing by ages of death, he's still quarter of his career left.
I mean, he came in that same class with CMC,
and they last 3 to 5 years longer. In terms of value, in terms of performance, probably about 3 years. But anyway,
but I agree with the sentiment of this.
Yes.
Don't
trade
CeeDee Lamb for Thomas and Fournette in a 24.
We came out in the same place. That's all that matters. Eric. Thank you very much. Friends, I do in a few leagues. I follow Jeff Miller. He's a beat writer for the Chargers. I've heard his name. It's meant to be pretty good, I think.
I don't know. I don't be like beat writers are dangerous.
Yeah,
that's all I will say. Is beat writers are dangerous, and you want to really be vetting. But
again, it's one of those weakness of mine. I don't know what it means. I find a friend. If it's not Zach, it's Travis May. He usually knows what's going on, especially with beat writers and shit and stuff. Pardon me. Samson Simpson, always down to check out some more 22 film. Thanks. Definitely. If you put the link up here, I think we'll be able to get some people over here. Soko recently traded a 25 first for Zeke, 2 QB. 2 years out, honestly. I don't hate that at all. Are we anticipating it? Fair question with the way we go on about 2023. I don't know anything about the 25 class. If I cared, I would ask Travis May. I don't think you've watched anything from him.
The 25 class just barely started eating solid foods.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're in high school yet. No, that's the weird thing about 25 picks. It's like you just value them as picks, but they're so far out. You can trade them before that, but they're so far out.
I know this is a DLF podcast. I know that but can I say yes, Travis May, but also the Campus to Canton guys are really, really good with Devi. And
Travis
so that
isn't
may be a
DLF
question.
Anymore.
Well, no, I know he's like, what's he like, Rotoviz? Something like that. It's all the smart people. Yeah, Campus to Canton.
Yeah, they were awesome. I met them this weekend. They know their stuff.
Yes, seriously. They do. And specifically, Felix Sharp is at Sharp Review on Twitter. So Shelko, ask Felix about the 25 class, and I'm sure he will give you some. But I don't mind
Debbie
trading.
Kane.
Yeah,
if you're actually trying to get insight into that class,
Absolutely.
Debbie Kane will be on point about it as well.
Yep.
Although he drinks fish balls like that water.
Yeah, but the third one is so much better than the second one.
I was only there for the second, and I'm glad. It's fun, dude. Who's worth the flyer? He's worth the flyer. Sorry. Again, if you're dropping Dwayne Eskridge, I'm not going to argue with you. It's fine. Yeah. There's a running back. Roster more running backs. That's how I get around that. I don't think this is to us, so I'm just skipping. I think it's accessible right now as far as I can tell. I think they're trying to figure out how to get a link for his channel.
We're getting all 22 film is what we're doing, Peter.
That's what we're trying.
Yeah.
Flip Pickens for a mid-23 first. It's solid. Again, you might feel bad because he might do great things, and you'll be like, damn, but you just got to remember why you're doing it. And that first is tradable for a lot of good stuff. Yep. And might be, if it's a super flex, might well be a quarterback.
I mean, honestly, if Pickens does decent, but not Jamar Chase, which there's a pretty big range in there, you probably get him back for a mid-23 first next year if you want him. So,
yeah, it's a good point. Unless he really blows up.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to. I think it's solid though. Sorry.
You auto deleted a link. Try it again.
Send it to me on Twitter if it did.
Absolutely. We can amplify that, Weaves.
Gavin Ferguson, I appreciate you taking the time to discuss the Saints wide receiver situation. No problem. Zach does a good job with that kind of thing. Not to go back and forth, just my perspective. We love hearing it. Don't worry about it. Olave was worth 2 firsts that he was traded for. None of the wide receivers has played with Jameis. I mean, NFL draft picks are different than fantasy draft picks, but sure.
Yeah.
Appreciate the perspective. Really appreciate you guys and the depth you went into discussing Saints wide receivers. That's why you guys are the best. I think you're the best, dude.
I would say appreciate you, Gavin. You guys are the best out there in the chat. This
Normally
is what makes
people
the
just
whole
like
thing work.
The fact that you listened and maintain your own perspective makes you like better than 90%. You're the best audience. Jerry just traded Smithy and Knox for Godwin. I like the it's like the drum roll. Just traded. Less space for it. Smithy, I'm guessing that's Devontae Smith at Knox for Godwin. What were you thinking? If that's Devontae Smith, I prefer that side, but Zach might.
I don't mind getting Godwin for that. Knox is just kind of a shrug for me, and I think Godwin is a more proven player. Like, I really had high hopes for Devontae Smith. I still have high-ish hopes for Devontae Smith, but you add AJ Brown on that team. You haven't seen Devontae Smith take over a team, and you have seen. I know, Peter, that you and I are a little bit opposed on Godwin. You've seen Godwin garner 130 targets when healthy, and be a red zone monster. Like, that's the guy that I want.
I mean,
I like it, Jerry.
Higgins, No, I get it, and
it's
injured. Actually, Adam Harstad's always saying buy injured, and I think it's for the Godwin type situation. To be honest with you, and it's not a bad idea. I just hate it. Dynasty Superflex 12-man, half point PPR. You took. I did. I took Burrow in the first. What would you rather have? Mixon, AJ Brown, or Saquon Higgins? Or Higgins, AJ Brown.
I would probably rather have Higgins and AJ Brown, but
I don't. The first one,
it's not Mixon and AJ Brown, and it's not Mixon and Saquon. It's either Saquon and Higgins, or Higgins and AJ Brown, and probably it's Saquon and Higgins for me. But I like the Higgins and AJ Brown. If it's my team, if I'm building, I build around wide receivers. That's what I do. Yeah,
you're basically asking what do we do on the second and third turn if those are the options. I don't know why AJ Brown isn't an option with Saquon. Just saying, because that would be more tempting than Saquon and Higgins to me. But honestly, if this is my dynasty startup, I would usually go Higgins, AJ Brown.
No,
but I'd really want Saquon. So I think either of those is fair. Take double wide receiver, or I'd take the shot because he's fallen to such a good value if that's where you're getting it. So Saquon and my wide receiver. Probably my answer. Choosing just one defensive player might be fun if you want to do that. Back to IDP here. Yeah, I've seen variations like that.
Just a single individual defensive player, just one.
Yeah, but it's just I feel like you're not doing. I don't know. I could. That would probably just turn into a kicker for me, where I'd draft the last one at the end of my round, and I don't think I'd get into it anymore. If you know what I mean. Again, standardized scoring, I think IDP would be great. I understand that it's really difficult to do. That's why it hasn't been done. But I think that's the hurdle. I think auction drafts are really fun. A lot of people do. Great to hear it, Samson. I hope that becomes a new normal of a standard snake draft. Why? Not to shame you here, Samson, because I like auctions too to a certain extent, but I love snake drafts. I think I like most of my leagues being drafts. Some of my best friends prefer auctions, but you play for your fun. If you just want to play in auctions, just play in auctions, Samson. It's the same league once you get into it, and same questions. The scoring is always different in different leagues. You can just play auctions. You don't need everyone else to play auctions. If you know what I mean?
Yes. See, that's the cool thing.
Play what's fun, man.
That's it. That's the cool thing about this game is you're going to be able to find a league that has what you want. So,
I mean, I know we're a very small thing in a very small community, but I haven't played on ESPN or CBS in years, and I'm still part of the community and having more fun because I've faded away from what is normal. I'm playing Dynasty more. But I get it. Everyone wants to see themselves reflected in the majority. Sometimes I get. But you're good. And if you're ever struggling to find one, hit us up. We know auction fanatics. Trust me, there's always an auction going on. And they are. I can really understand it. The auctions are great. Daniel McGrath. I got like 7 minutes here, guys, before we do the "well, look behind you" joke. Tony McGrath, how you guys feel about CMC this year? He's my running back 1 in Dynasty. Like I'm drafting that running back below where most people would draft a running back, but he is. So that's how I feel about it. It was offered CMC for Swift and feels like it's still an upgrade for me. I don't think so. Like, I don't think Swift has an upside. And you could argue with me for
offered CMC. He had Swift, offered CMC.
I take CMC. Like, if I've got a running back, it's about what they do next year.
Yep.
If you don't think but if I'm going running backs because I think I'm a strong contender. If you're not a strong contender, maybe trade Swift for value rather than another running back. But I take CMC if I'm in that position to care about my running back. That makes sense. Is that not I'm not fence sitting or nothing, am I there, Zach?
No, I like that. Like
Okay.
I would take CMC. Again, with that, I feel like an upgrade from me being a top contender. That's why CMC is the answer. If you're not, Swift is going to maintain value, I think, longer than CMC. But because people are going to hope on Swift because he's younger.
But if I'm not, I will be trading Swift for a pick and a wide receiver or 2 picks, or that's why. CMC all day. Gavin Grant, $200 budget, contending. How much fab on just a dollar? Oh, 2. Okay.
I outbid you. Woo! 0 is fine.
0. I mean, at this point, you might be the only one bidding. Probably not, because he's in the news and there's nothing else going on. So yeah, put the 2 in. Weeds, I tried to post a link earlier, and I think get it some other way. I'll be happy to share it, even if it's just through Twitter if YouTube doesn't like it. You got my Twitter at. It's right here under my face normally. Yeah.
That's all 20. We got a different all 22 going on.
It is a bit weird because honestly, those posts get in here, but you can't post a link. I'm literally here asking for. Come on, YouTube, get it together. Lance Mercer, what's Nick's Chubb value in Superflex scoring?
I shipped him for a 23 first.
I would love to ship him for a 23 first.
Yep.
And that's the offers you're getting. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair value, man. I know his points are better than that, but if you're shopping him, that's good value.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. Thanks. No problem. 24 class is pretty good as well. I don't know. It's not getting the hype of 23. And I don't know until we get into that off season. I have asked Devy players about it, and it's a good class, but it's not expected to be near as good.
Right.
For what it's worth, which is almost nothing.
But I do like what Samson said. The only way I acquired so many 23s is because I traded for them in 2021.
No,
that's what you.
That's
need
a really
to do.
good point. You need to go 2 years out. Yeah.
But also like that's to me the value of Devy. Like I don't play Devy. I don't have the bandwidth for Devy. I don't want to watch players before I'm ready to watch them in terms of my process for Dynasty and watching film. So I don't watch players until they come out, but I follow a bunch of Devy guys, Travis May, Felix Sharp, Kane, Fasel. So like all
Felix
of these
Sharp,
guys,
where I mentioned Devy Kane, Travis May.
Yeah,
all different platforms.
And Ray Garvin, like all of these guys who are looking at Devy players and Devy classes, because I don't actually care about the individual players. I want to hear them get excited about classes.
Which class are the most?
Yeah, and I can identify where I'm going to target. So like 2 years ago, if you were listening to the Dynasty Dummies, we were already targeting the 23 class. We've already acquired those. What I like to do is identify that class 2 years out. I'll trade 2 players who are worth second-round picks. I'll trade for a second-round pick this next draft and a first in the draft that I've identified as the draft that I want to attack. And then when I come into this next draft with a whole bunch of seconds, I can usually pair a couple of those, move up into the first, and get somebody I want anyway. So it all works out.
It is important to pay attention to what you want. And if that's what you're looking for Devy followers for, you're looking for someone willing to say negative things. Like, I hate it, but Ray GQ is absolutely awesome at this, don't get me wrong, but he's such a player guy.
Oh, he loves,
especially early out, he'll tell you the positives and the negatives, but where I'm such a klutz, I'll only hear the overall positive tone, and I don't know which class is better than the other. But he will, the closer it gets to a draft, Ray G really take his stand, right?
Yeah.
You really know when the class comes up where he stands. Whereas Travis May is someone much more likely to give you the overall tone and be positive and negative on a whole class. And that's why I always bring him up. He gives me something that I'm actually looking for, because I don't care about the name so much as that overall flow of value and hype.
Busu Vu is another guy.
Oh,
he's not for everybody. Like, I get it. He's
Oh, no,
a
he's
little
big.
abrasive, but
He doesn't mind me
is
saying it either.
really sharp when it comes to Debbie.
Yeah. And he will tell you what he doesn't like. You can say that.
Absolutely.
With a very strong comparison. Ron T, what you guys think of Amon Ra and a 23-second for Sky Moore, Robert Woods, Tyler Algier, and a 24
St. Brown side?
Amon Ra all day. Like, I would hurt my finger accepting that trade in that direction.
You know
because I'd be pushing the buttons.
You know what's really funny? I found because I like to message myself on Twitter to kind of keep things, and I messaged myself to the wrong account, so I messaged myself to the Dynasty Dummies account. My Amon-Ra St. Brown in December of 2020. So I just found this today, and it says Amon-Ra St. Brown has great quickness out of the slot, doesn't necessarily make defenders respect his ability to get over the top, plays a little bit smaller than 6'1", but has very good hands and even in traffic. Which I feel like that ended up being pretty spot, but this, I just happened to find it, and I saw the St. Brown stuff, so I was like, ooh, we're in the St. Brown area. It's nice.
Well, I was thinking of pulling a smooth, letting you do that, and then be like, boom, and we go straight to like look behind you. But Weave's just sent me this on Twitter, and this is going to be an easy way of doing this because I don't want to get my channel, my comment out the chat either. But he just sent me this link. I've just reshared it on Twitter at PA Howdy if you want to see it. I'm putting it in the chat, and hopefully it will get deleted. And here's Weave's All 22 chat. Someone just said it's pretty cool we do that when most people wouldn't. I find that's one thing I really like about this community. I think most would. Everyone here I've met and talked to, even for a minute, is willing to share and pass on what they've been offered, which is just general kindness.
So I was, and I don't mean to name drop, but I was talking with Scott Fish and Ryan McDowell this weekend and talking about specifically when I first started podcasting, Ryan McDowell listened to our podcast and then retweeted it and said, hey, you should check out the Dynasty Dummies. And to me, if you have that ability to lift up somebody who's doing good work in the space, it doesn't actually hurt you. It doesn't hurt anybody. Lifting up good content is a way to lift everybody up, because the more good content we have out in this space, the better off we're going to be. So
actually, I find the opposite. Most of the people I've been at all able to offer even a little bit of help, most of them overtake me. I'm like, damn, glad I was good to them.
Yeah.
like I remember when Koodle Doodle was like a small account. I remember when Stepmom Lauren was a small. I remember Ray GQ started. I'm glad I wasn't like, who's Ray?
I did a podcast where I tweeted out. Where I talked about, shouted out Ray and Stepmom Lauren, who both had under 500 followers.
Yeah, and it's not because of that. It's just
it's great, but it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see people succeed, but it's also awesome to see the community gravitate toward people doing great work, and that, to me, that's exactly what it's all about.
Seriously, I wouldn't gotten anywhere if everyone I'd met in this community didn't have that attitude. I think it's part of it. I think that's why we keep sticking around, even when fantasy maybe gets tiresome sometimes, and you just want to quit because there's no off season, there's a break. There's still someone and we've been speaking to for 3 years. You just want to go chat with on Twitter today. So it's pretty cool. And there are a lot of questions here that we're going to have to skip over. Sorry, I got to get my stars at rest. But I will try. I will endeavor, if you post them on the YouTube video, or if they turn up on the YouTube video or the Twitch account or anywhere this is going, I will answer them.
It's 100% my fault. I will own it tonight. No. I have to go to bed. I did the 18-hour drive back from Canton, and I got to work a 5 to 5 tomorrow. So I'm shutting it down early. I apologize. Next week, I promise I'll be better.
We appreciate it, everyone. Don't forget to look behind you, I guess.
Look over there.